What is your position on the war in Afghanistan? This is from Janet in Plymouth.
Very straightforward. I'm opposed to the war in Afghanistan. I believe we need to bring our troops home now. I believe we need to take the dollars that we are spending there and bring them home here and invest them here and create American jobs here. I opposed the war in Iraq. I opposed the surge. I opposed the funding that would, in fact, perpetuate that war. I believe that our national security interests are not being served by engaging in a war that's drawing us deeper and deeper into a quagmire in Afghanistan. This is a place that was occupied by Alexander the Great, by the Russians. The British used to call it the Great Game, and now the Americans are there. And it's not clear to me how our national security interests here at home, which are at risk, are somehow or other better protected by sending Americans there. I think there's an important distinction between myself and my opponent. In previous, he has virtually not spoken to this issue throughout the campaign, and only just recently has responded to questions, and in the same sentence spoke in favor and in opposition to the war. I think here is a clear distinction between him and me. I'm very vocal, very outspoken, have been saying this from the beginning of the campaign, have it in my literature, on my website. I think this was a war that is heading in a direction that's not in our national self-interest. I believe we need to reverse course and bring those soldiers home.
What is your position on the war in Afghanistan?
Well, I hope that your students listen to you more carefully than you've listened to me in the previous debates, because I've been very clear. In Plymouth, I can recall having the question addressed, and I recall answering it very directly. Just the last few days in New England Cable News, I was asked that question, answered it directly. The answer is very clear. The President has set a deadline of July. And I think we should hold to that deadline. If we can do it sooner, we should. Our soldiers have fought bravely in Afghanistan. They have made some progress in interrupting terrorism, and they've taken out some of the most dangerous terrorists on the planet Earth. But this counterinsurgency strategy has to come to an end. We should shift our national strategy away from counterinsurgencies and nation building, but into counterterrorism, and trying to deal with the issue of nuclear terrorism, which presents the greatest danger to our country. So I've been very clear, and there's no difference whatsoever, in spite of the fact you might try and create one.
The reality is when he's spoken, and it's been rare on this, 2 occasions in the campaign, nothing on his website, nothing on his literature. But on the 2 occasions that he's responded to a question, he said he supports the President's policy. So apparently the congressional delegation here in Massachusetts, which sees the President's policy otherwise, feels differently. Congressman McGovern filed and supported legislation that would require the President to begin to put together a plan to leave Afghanistan, because the President has not set a timeline for an exit. All he said is they would begin to consider that possibility at a certain point in time. And in fact, General Petraeus is now moving away from that number. So clearly the administration is waffling on this. And this is when a congressman needs to step up and remind the President that the decision to go to war is a decision shared between a President and a Congress. It involves all of us. It involves your children, your families, and your treasure. And we need to be a part of that decision. And when we disagree, we need to be willing to speak out.
Well, let me just restate what I just said. I said that the President has set a deadline, and if we could do it sooner, I would support it. Now, I also said that I would have voted no on the $37 billion to fund this. Now, how much more emphatic do you have to be? Now, you might confuse the fact that I, in my remarks also, have mentioned how proud I am of the soldiers that are serving for us over there. And that's not to be confused with the need to end the war there and to get home. And I'm proud of our soldiers. And I made that point. If that confused you, because I was the only one saying that, then now you're correct.